I'm back. Did you miss me? Last month was the first time that we did not release one of these video market updates since February 2022. That's one hell of an Iron Man streak if I do say so myself. And when I looked that up, I was genuinely upset that I let that streak come to an end. But things have simply been that crazy. Now, wait a minute, Marty. I thought the market is super slow and sales are way down. So what have you been doing this whole time? Cut the tape! Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me for the May 2025 edition of our Greater Vancouver Market update. Sincere apologies for not putting out a video last month, but honestly, it was a crazy month, and I will explain what I mean by that a little bit later on. But since I broke my Ironman streak of 37 straight months of these videos, I figured, why not shake up the format a bit this month and just see what happens? And with that, here's the high level. There's really only two things to know right now. One, listing inventory is the highest it's been in over 10 years. And two, sales this last April were at the third lowest level in over 10 years. And one of those 2 years was April 2020, when we all had to sit inside and binge watch Netflix due to COVID. How we define a strong market versus a weak market ultimately comes down to supply and demand. So high inventory and low sales equals no bueno. And that's where we're at. So let's have a peek at the stats table. Sales. There were 2,163 units sold throughout all of Greater Vancouver this past month. A mere 3.4% increase over March. So basically flat. And based on what we are used to seeing at this time of year, it was 28.2% below the 10-year average for the month. So not a good spring. Listings registered at 16,207 total listings throughout the board, an 11.4% increase from the previous month. And as I mentioned, we are sitting on the highest number of listings in Greater Vancouver in over 10 years. As you can see from this graph, the next closest peak was June of 2019 when the board recorded 15,663 total listings. Now, I'm old enough to remember when the only narrative in the media and my industry was, we need more supply, we need to build more. Well, be careful what you wish for, because here's the supply. But the thing is, it's not like we built our way out of this. It's simply that for a variety of reasons, two major buyer groups have completely pulled out of the Greater Vancouver real estate market. Number one is the foreign investor. Government intervention, restrictions on capital outflows, and the simple lack of a return on investment over the last few years has all but wiped out this buyer class. And number two is the local investor. I've had some clients try to convince me that there is a market for their investment property with other local investors. But local investors are simply far and few between right now. The numbers simply don't work, especially when you combine the headache that goes along with it. I hate to say it, but government intervention has made it extremely undesirable to be a landlord these days. So with sales staying basically flat and listings rising, our months of inventory has jumped to 7.5 MOI. Now, apologies if you're bored with these slides, but just a friendly reminder, 4 to 6 months of inventory is considered a balanced market, and anything over 6 MOI is considered a buyer's market. And at 7.5 MOI, we are well into that category. And as such, the board is finally reporting that prices are indeed falling. In fact, by half a percentage point this past month, which is a pretty sturdy month-over-month drop. And here's how the home price index graph looks like as of the end of April. Now look, I'm not going to beat a dead horse here. I've said it numerous times before since the start of the year. In fact, this model is imperfect and lagging, and like any model, ultimately flawed. Prices in Greater Vancouver have been falling pretty well since February. But hey, this last statement is just as flawed as the board's model, because the truth is that it all depends on a variety of factors: municipality, the neighborhood, the type of product. This is a very nuanced type of discussion. But in my opinion, prices are falling, and they're falling even faster than what is being reported. We're seeing some final sale prices coming in way under asking price, more so than I've ever seen in my career. And it just feels like every transaction is an absolute grind to get across the finish line right now, which is why, we're keeping super busy, even though there isn't a heck of a lot of sales happening. And this ties well into my final topic that I want to touch on in this update. We're basically in the last 4 weeks of the spring market, and I've had many people ask me, should I try and rush and sell now or wait until the fall? Look, I don't have a crystal ball, but right now, when a buyer writes an offer, they're looking at the comparable sales from the last 3 months. Not great, but not bad. If you wait until September or October or November, those buyers are going to be looking at comparable sales from this coming summer. And I think the folks that try to sell this summer, that need to sell this summer, are going to take pretty substantial haircuts on their pricing expectations, which will then become the new comparable that buyers will be looking at in the fall when they decide to write an offer on a property. Again, don't have a crystal ball, not telling you what to do, and at the end of the day, life decisions have to play a role in your decision-making process. But I will say this, I am definitely not convinced that waiting until the fall will garner better results in terms of pricing. That's all. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the more free-flowing format, and I'll catch you right back here in about a month's time. Take care, everyone.